Good morning, Breakfast Club family. This is Mark Stevens for your host, Joe Shoup. Welcome to the Breakfast Club. It is what? December 23rd, 2014. Year's almost gone, even though I'm in 2015 already. But 2014 is pretty much a goner. Joe is not feeling well today, so he won't be with us today. But I have something I do want to talk about. It's again, everything, as I said, from here on down the line, I'll be talking about has to do with our new presentation, which the only update I can give you right now is simply that we've got things over at Tools Rock. We have one more thing to approve. We're waiting on what's called a markup, where we look at the graphics, we look at the language, and things of that nature. And then once we approve them, then we sign off on them, and then we get them back to Tools Rock, and then they get it up on the server. So we're looking for that to be completed, hopefully sometime this week, if not sooner than later. It's kind of been, it's being worked on, so we're just waiting. The manual is ready. The only thing is we're doing the capture pages and for the funnel, and then that'll be ready, and then they can get all of that up on the server, and we'd be good to go. So just be patient. I'm very excited. It's hard for me to be patient because I know, what that presentation is going to do for a lot of people. It's very important. So we're working on it. Today, I want to talk about something. Again, this presentation takes in a lot of information, and it, like I said, it addresses the baby boomers, and it addresses the millennials, and it addresses a lot of things: retirement, controlling your own retirement, things of that nature. So, but I want to talk about today. I want to talk about central bank. And I want to talk about your gold, because the reason I want to do this is very simple, is that we're not gold peddlers, we're not gold sellers. What we do is teach people how to have a successful business from home. Karatbars happens to be one of the companies that we are an affiliate with, that we have an affiliation with here at AdTech. And that product is a wow product, as I call it. It has so many possibilities, it has so many benefits, and it's been that way for 6,000 years. So that's the reason I want to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. Hopefully I can get through this in a half hour. I may have to refer to some of my notes, but it's very important, and it's very important that you pay close attention and that you understand the things that I'm saying. And we'll have a question and answer period afterwards if we need to. But it's very important because going forward, you need to understand information like I'm going to talk about. You need to understand it. You need to do some research yourself. You need to know, because guess what? It affects your business. It affects your business. And when you need to know everything that's going around your business, inside and outside of your business, because you're the CEO, the COO of your own business, and it's important that if nobody else knows, that you know. So we're 1 minute to the top of the hour, but I'm going to go ahead and get started because it's very important. Again, this still, remember what I talk about, it still revolves around our new business presentation. Remember, it's not a Karatbars presentation, it's an AdTech Worldwide presentation, and it's a business presentation. Now you have a personal funnel, for my friends and family. You have a funnel for people that you don't know, the 12-week financial freedom plan, which is for everybody as well. And now you're going to have a business funnel, and that's very important. So you're going to have three things that are very useful for you, because you got to have a system where recruiting never stops. And you also have to have marketing, which is what we do to get our information in front of people. And that's what your business needs. Now, I'm quite sure many of you have heard about Ponzi schemes. As a matter of fact, in a communication class, a question is asked, is this a Ponzi scheme? And those of you that have taken a communication class, you know how to answer that question, or you should know how to answer that question. You know, so I'm not going to get into that right now because I definitely want to cover all of this. But one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in the world and in the country was done by a guy by the name of Bernie Madoff. I'm quite sure many of you definitely in the U.S. heard about him and that. Well, let me give you a little story if I can. There was a guy by the name of Dan, and Dan was a wealthy man, and he lived a life of luxury. As a matter of fact, why shouldn't he? I mean, a lot of people would like to live a life of luxury if they could. But Dan, and I'm not talking about Boomer Dan, even though he now lives a life of luxury because of all the hard work that he's done through Karatbars. But this Dan was a valued senior executive of a major investment firm. And Dan's salary was more than $1 million a year. And so basically what helped him do that, he was a remarkably good investor as well. And as a matter of fact, he made $500,000 on 8,000 shares of Apple stock. That's right. He made out of $500,000 on 8,000 shares of Apple stock. So he's a good trader. And he made $400,000 in a year on about 157,000 shares of Lucent Technologies, which is a technology company. And then, you know, so he made another $1 million on Big Lots shares, you know, stores like Walmart and things of that nature. Now, here's the deal. In fact, Dan was so shrewd that he closed out his major account with Bernie Madoff and with Bernie Madoff's firm. So he had stuff going in there as well as his own. But he closed his out just before the fan went crazy. And that was back in 2006. And that was more than, you know, when you think about it, that was more than 2.5 years before Madoff shut his doors, or he got his doors shut on him. So it was a good move by Dan. And see, here's the thing. The only problem is that Dan was a director of operations at Madoff Investment Securities. And guess what? It was a position that he had for 30 years, so he had to know what was going on. Come on. Well, last week, Dan Bonventure was sentenced to 10 years. Madoff has already indicated 10 years in prison for his part in a $17.3 billion fraud. Did you hear what I said? $17.3 billion fraud. Now, in my view, Bonventure got off easy. When you rip somebody off for $17.3 billion, 10 years is way too light. That's in my opinion. Some of you may have a different opinion. Well, thinking about that, and for his part, Bonventure complained that he was duped by Madoff. Come on, you've been there 30 years, and you made all this money. You know what was going on. That's why you should get more than 10 years, because look at the lives that you and your buddy Madoff ruined. So I'm not going to stay on that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because the things I'm going to talk about now pertains to what's going on now, pertains to this presentation. So I want you to pay close attention. Because see, first off, if something seems too good to be true, what happens? It usually is. It probably is. It probably is. Some of the more, you know, so what I'm saying is this. As well as, for example, Maxim is, it bears constant repeating. Madoff's reported returns were as good and consistent that once he had a client they stayed with him. That's because they was getting a good return. But in a Ponzi scheme, you take money in from new people to pay off to old people, but eventually it runs out. So that's the first thing. And what I'm saying is that some of the more sophisticated Madoff clients must have known that the returns were too good to be true. But what happens is greed. Greed takes over. And that's what gets you in trouble. I do say that the best way to make money is to help somebody else make it first. But this is not the way that I'm talking about. You don't do it and be greedy, and you do it at the expense of people. You do it to help them, not to take from them. That's number one. That's point number one. Now, point number two that I want to make is you don't count on the state or its institutions for protection. Because I know some of you are probably sitting out there saying, well, Mark, we got the government. We got all these government agencies with these three-letter words and things of that nature. They're supposed to be protecting us. Well, I keep telling you that ain't happening. I keep telling you that they're in bed together. I keep telling you that it's for their own benefit, not yours. Madoff Securities was investigated 16 times over 8 years by these government agencies, by the SEC. And, there were a lot of outspoken skeptics. There were whistleblowers. And, you would think that you would be protected. You would think that these agencies would do something about it. But what I keep telling you is that if you're being paid off, why are you going to stop something when you're not necessarily vulnerable because you're in the background collecting big money, and there's a good chance that when the fan goes crazy that it's not even going to blow on you. Think about that. So even the whistleblowers, to no avail, were able to get anything done for a long time. You know what? The reason why? Madoff was too big and too well connected. Let me say that again. Madoff was too big and too well connected. It's just like 2007, 2008 when the banks went belly up. Those three-letter agencies and whatever you want to call them, they bailed out the banks, claiming that they didn't want the economy to go down and everything. They didn't bail you and me out, they bailed out the banks. Why? Because they felt the banks were too big. So they couldn't let them fail. And now the banks are making even more profits than they ever been making. But guess whose money they received? They received your money and my money. That's the money that they received. So now you see why I get upset when I start talking about this. But you're my family, I love you. I have to tell you about this. I have to get you to understand what's going on. And you need to pay attention. And, I'm very serious about what I'm saying and what I'm talking about. Like, I'm always serious. I like to laugh and enjoy and have fun and everything, but at the same time, I'm still serious because I like to look after your money like I look after my own money. I want to protect your money like I try to protect my money. And if I can tell you something and share something with you to do that, that's what I'm going to do. Now, some people don't like that. They don't like that, but it is what it is, and I'm going to do what I got to do. Much is given, much is required, and I'm one that like to take responsibility for what's been put in my possession and what's been given to me. Now, that was the second thing. Now, number three, the third thing is simply this. Only those who get out of a Ponzi scheme early get out whole. Let me say that again. Only those who get out of a Ponzi scheme early are the ones that get out whole. like this Bonventure guy, even though he ended up in jail because, see, reaping and sowing is real. So when you do something bad to somebody, it's coming back at you. It might not be this year, this month, this year, but it's coming back. Not only is it a spiritual principle, but it's a universal principle. There's a thing called universal law as well as spiritual laws. But the key is don't break any laws. That's the key. So remember that those who get out of a Ponzi scheme early are the ones that get out whole. And see, here's the thing. One of the secrets of Madoff's success was that those who made redemptions or liquidated accounts, those people, they did it on fresh money, like I said earlier. The way a Ponzi scheme works is that the early money is retired by new money, but then it eventually runs out. Therefore, you have a Ponzi scheme. Now, when you think about Karatbars, can't be a Ponzi scheme. We're not running out any gold. We're not taking the later people to pay for the earlier people, because we all do the same thing at the same time. And we work for each other. And that's why we talk about that our job is to grow this company. And if we grow this company together, then we make out all right. Now, the fourth thing is simply this. And I may get a little deep here. Schemes and frauds are often exposed by major market reversals. Oh boy, where you going with that one, Mark? Let me say it again. Schemes and frauds are often exposed by market reversals. Now, I've been telling y'all that I'm waiting for this stock market to reverse and crash. And it will. I don't know the hour, the day of the coming of it, but it's coming. And I would be so happy. But I need to get y'all ready and to understand something. When that happens, your goal is going way down. But don't worry. You don't need to worry. As a matter of fact, get happy and buy as much more as you can. Because when it reverses again, it's going to shoot through the roof. It's going to shoot through the roof. So now is the time to start buying all that you can buy. And then pray that we have a stock market crash. Well, it's going to happen. And that it goes down, because then you can buy more. And what you have is going to shoot up, and it's going to keep going up and up and up for a good while. It may go down for a while too, but that's okay. Remember, it just go down, but it doesn't lose its value. Now, when the stocks go down, you lose everything. You know why? Because you have nothing backing it. There's nothing backing stocks. There's nothing backing bonds. There's nothing backing derivatives, which is spread all over the world, and that's why all these economies crashing, all these pension plans crash, all these things are happening. And that's why when I talk about what's happening today, that's what's happening. Pension plans now, as I told you yesterday, they're going to start cutting people that's getting, retirement pay now. It's going to be cut. That's not fair. That's not right. But when you know the cause of it, when you know what's happening in the back rooms and in the basements and things of that nature, and these so-called politicians, politics, T-I-C-K, ticks. That's all they are, a bunch of ticks. They suck the blood out of you through legislation, through laws. Let me teach you a little bit of something here. You have two types of laws. You have statutory laws and you have common laws. Now, you also have the rule of law and you have the color of law. Now, the rule of law is the law that's under the Constitution. That's common law, which we don't operate on today because there's a different corporation. It's not the one that you think it is. Now, the rule of law means it's under the Constitution, which is fair And the color of law means that they color it any way that they want to. So it's to your disadvantage. Now, because they can do this, they do anything that they want to us. Yeah, I'm going to say it. The government can do anything that they want to us, legal and illegal. If it's not under the common law constitution, it's illegal. If it's under the color of law, it's illegal. But that's what they do to us. That's what we're living under now, for those of you that don't know. Okay, so I went down a rabbit hole a little bit, but I'll hold it for later because I want to get through this. So, you know, when you think about Madoff, he may have had a cent invested, you know, in what he was doing. He was taking, and he might not have had a cent invested in mortgage securities. Guess what? It wouldn't have mattered, because the fallout from Bear Stearns, remember Bear Stearns? They went under. Lehman Brothers, the implosion of the mortgage market. When that happened, the game was over. So what am I saying? First, can central banks really buy trillions of dollars of debt securities today with the money they didn't have yesterday, and without something going very wrong? Think about that. Can they create money endlessly out of nothing to manipulate interest rates without consequences? Because that's what they've been doing. The central bank, I'm calling it the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal nor do they have any reserves. You don't believe me? Look it up in the phone book. You usually won't find it in, you know, there's a section of the phone book. They have the blue pages that list all the government agencies. You generally won't see the Federal Reserve in there, but if you look under Federal Express, you generally find them in there in the white pages. That right there tells you they're not a government agency. They're neither federal. They use the term federal to mislead everybody. So that's what y'all need to know, for those of you that don't know it. But getting back to what I'm saying, does creating trillions of dollars out of nothing at all in this way and investing it in government securities, or loaning it out to the banks who continually rip us off, does that pass the smell test? Not mine. Or is it too good to be true? Remember what I said? If it's too good to be true, generally it is. So here's the second part of that. The state refuses to insist in auditing the Federal Reserve. In other words, the government will not audit the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has never been audited. They always fight against being audited against, and they're the ones that control everything. They control the Congress. Obama don't control nothing. He don't control the Congress. The Congress don't control the Congress. The bankers control the Congress. They control every aspect of our lives. They control interest rate, how much you're going to pay for a house, how much you're going to pay for a car, how much you're going to pay for education. They control it all. They control the business cycle, inflation and deflation. What it really is a business cycle, and that's what they control. So if you're wondering why are the prices doing this, why are the prices doing that, why am I paying more and getting less? Look at the 5-pound bag of sugar. Now it's 59 ounces and the price has gone up. All those, look at your food that you buy. You're getting less in the package and you're paying more money. Interesting, isn't it? Well, third part of this is simply this. There's a worldwide movement, for those of you that don't know. And it's now joined by some smaller foreign central banks. See, the central bank has its tentacles all over the entire world. They control governments. They control politicians. Ansel Rothschild. In case of you, some of you might have, some of you might not heard the name Rothschild. They're the biggest banking family in the world. They control all the money. He says, give me the control of a country's money. I care not who make the laws. That's what he said. Give me the control of the money in any country. I care not who make the laws. I think I just explained to you why he said that. Because it's true. If you control the money, you control the politicians. Why? Because they're bought and sold every day. That's why I can't stand, I disdain politics. I hope you don't think I'm unpatriotic or whatever, but you know what? When you know something, you don't have to believe it. A lot of things we have to go on our belief and what somebody tells us, but when you know it, you don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe it when you know it. So what I'm saying is that one of the banks that helped control everything was the Bank of England and the Bank of France. A lot of these big banks are controlled by the Fed's tentacles. And this is why a lot of things that happen in certain countries affect other countries, because it's all tied in. I can't explain that to you in a half hour or whatever like that, but I tell you, if you knew what I know, and you knew the gist of it and the real information about it, you may want to hurt somebody. And that's still not good for anybody, but it makes you want to hurt somebody when you understand what's being done to you and what has been done to you and what's being set up for your children and your grandchildren. And this is why you have to do something about it. Getting back to our business presentation. In that presentation, it tells you things that you need to do. That's what's going to help you rise above this, because I'm going to tell you, you can't defeat the system, but you can learn to rise above it. Until certain things take place and certain things change, there's nothing really that you can do except for learn how to rise above it. And this is what we've been trying to tell you and teach you. Well, let me tell you something. There's a worldwide movement now joined by the smaller banks themselves, calling for the repatriation of what? Not their dollars, not the paper stuff, but their gold from the central banks. And guess what? The central banks is not giving some of these countries their gold. Or they told Germany, well, you can have a little bit of it, but you have to, over the next 20 years, we'll give you some of the rest and things like that. That's how evil these people are. I guess I'm down a rabbit hole a little bit today, but just throw me some carrots, that's all. Because it's bad. It's bad. And, you know, I don't like negativity. I don't like to be around negativity. But sometimes the facts are negative themselves, and that's all I give you is facts. And what I'm saying is that the reason I do that is because I want you to learn, and I want you to learn how to rise above it. Because you have to control the economy in your own home. You have to control your own retirement. You have to look out for your children and your grandchildren. And you definitely want to be able to leave an inheritance for your children's children. But you got to know how to do that. You got to be in a position to do that. And that's where we're headed. So I was talking about Germany. Germany's request for repatriation of its gold has been met by a promise of an agonizing long delay. It's on a schedule. In other words, that's why I say when you put your money in the bank, you no longer own it. It's the bank's money, and you are now a creditor to the bank. So they give it to you when they feel like it. If I put $5,000 in the bank today and I want to go out tomorrow and get it out, I want my money. And I would imagine you would want yours too. But guess what? It's coming to a point that it ain't happening. You're going to go there and you're going to ask for your money, and they're going to say, well, we don't have the money. You have to go to the Fed. You have to go to you know, the people that insure the money. That's what they're going to send you. The banks have your money. And again, like I said, they trade it overnight for as much as 30 and 40% return on your money. And what do they give you? Less than 1% on passbook savings? I was born at night, but not last night, and my mama didn't raise a fool. And yours didn't either. You just need to learn a few things. Thanks, Gloria. The more carrots I get, the more I'm going to talk. I'm going to sing. So think about this. In fact, the repatriation of Germany's gold purportedly, let me use the term purportedly, held by the Federal Reserve. You know, they talk about all the gold in Fort Knox that nobody has audited or whatever like that. Well, you know what? Personally, I don't believe there's any gold in Fort Knox. Because let me tell you, on 9/11, those 5 trucks that was there and everything, they was pulling out gold from a 3rd building. But I'm going to stop right there. I don't know. I didn't mean to get off like this and this deep, but let me calm down. Anyhow, so we have to take charge right now, today, this minute. We have to take charge. We have to take charge of our gold, because we're not giving it to the Fed or nobody. You know, we're going to control it. And thank the creator for Karatbars, and for people like Harold Seiss. We need more good people like him. This man could be greedy, but he's not. He's a sharer, and that's why he's got such a great company. Because when you do what's right, and when you do what's right for the customer, and when you do what's right for the people around you, you will be blessed by the best. And that's why he and Karatbars are in the position that they're in. So what I'm saying is that in the event that the central bankers, who may be like Daniel Bonventure, you know, he was in there stealing too. They're like him at Madoff's firm. That's how the central bankers are. Because, for example, in November, I think it was November of, let me see, in November, the Dutch called home 122 metric tons of gold from the Fed. Now, notice I said they called it home. In other words, they went to the Fed and said that they wanted their gold. And even Belgium's central bank is considering repatriation of its gold. And now Austria is discussing the same thing. Because what they're finding out is that this dollar, the paper's worth nothing, and they need to get their gold back, but you think they're going to get it back? Maybe. Maybe another 100 years from now, if that. So, you know, it's very frustrating. And it's even frustrating for me to be telling you this, because it never should have happened. It never should have happened. Because, first of all, 1971, Tricky Dick Nixon took us off the gold standard, and that's why we're still suffering today. Our money was backed by gold. We didn't have all this inflation, deflation, and all of that. Gold-backed currency is the way to go. And but that's why you see countries like Brazil and Portugal and places like that, their economies are going down because the dollar has just gone out the back door. It has no back and has no worth. You know, so, and what I'm saying is that we have to be real careful, because our dollar's hit it the same way. 1913 $100 is worth $100. Here it is, 2014. Dollar might be worth 4 cents now. And I call it not worth the ink and the paper that it's written on. So I would love to say more, but I'm gonna stop there because I want to end on a more positive note. And that positive note is simply this, that we have to pull together as a family and beat the Fed, beat the politics, the ticks. We got to beat the ticks. We got to beat the Fed. We got to beat the banks. And now, what I'm doing now is I'm telling people, see, having a savings or a checking account is a necessary evil because of the way the system was set up. So we're part of this system, not of our own choosing, but we're part of it. So what I'm doing now is I'm telling people, you need to have 2 or 3 bank accounts. Well, what do you mean? Well, you need to have a checking account, you need to have a savings account, and you need to have a gold savings account. Well, if I got a checking account and a savings account, why do I need a gold savings account? Because the gold savings account will protect your other 2 accounts. It will protect the assets and preserve the assets that you do have right now. Because if you don't do something, it's going to get stolen. And gold is the real currency. It's been the real money for the past 6,000 years, and it still is and will forever be. So, as a matter of fact, have you seen the international money yet? Would you like to see it? Would you like to see it? Let me go in my pocket a minute. Yeah, you mean you haven't seen the new international money? There it is. You see that in the middle of that card? That's real money. It's 999.9% gold bullion. That's what you need backing your savings account and your gold savings account. And you can get that. You need to have that. And that's what I'm telling people. And that's what I'll be doing big time right now on through 2015 and beyond. And you should be doing the same thing. You should work together with your team of people that's on your team, those that want to work. Now, you know, everybody don't want to work. They want to sit back and just look at the sky and think it's going to fall out of the sky. Well, let me tell you something. Your Creator gave you the ability to get wealth. Your Creator made you fearlessly and wondrously. You are fearlessly and wondrously made, and you have the intelligence and you have the wherewithal to make it happen. And I'm just encouraging you to make it happen. And I want to help you. Because it ain't about me. It's about us. It's about us. I love you. I want the best for you. I'll do whatever I can. I want the best for you. Because guess what? If I can help you get the best for you, it helps me too. It helps all of us. So I'm a little bit past the bottom of the hour, but that's okay. I guess I needed to get that out. But I do want to look at the question box before we close and see what kind of questions we might have. All right, Gloria. Gloria's taking charge. That's her personal theme. I like that. So, I don't see any other questions, but let me tell you something, Breakfast Club family. Now is the time to take the bull by the horns and make our own bullion and bull market. not with paper, but with real money, real currency, gold. And guess what? You don't have to sell it. You do not have to sell gold. What you have to do is educate people. That's what they need. They need to be educated about what we have and what it can do for them. And if we're willing to pull together and do that, then guess what? We all can be VIPs next year and VIP exclusives if you so desire. And that's my goal for everybody. Everybody on this broadcast. Everybody. VIP. Because you are a very important person to me. You're my family. And we want you to be a VIP in Carrot Bars and a VIP exclusive. So you can get a share in that whirlpool if you can. So, I hope what I shared with you make you think on some things, take some action, be blessed and be a blessing to somebody else with this season. Know the reason for the season and think about somebody else first. In turn, you'll be blessed. So let's go out today. Make it a great day. Make it a blessed day. Be a blessing to somebody. Help somebody change their life. Help them change their career. Who do you know is willing to make a career change for the right money? Well, if you don't show them the career, they can't make a change. So let's do that. Let's change a career. Let's change a family's life. Let's change a city, a state, and a country. And most of all, let's help us all, each other, change this world. Let's get rid of the stress. Let's give them some time freedom, some financial freedom. Let them be with their families, do the things they want to do. But let's first remember, always remember this, let's first be the change in us that we want to see in the world. Because change is inevitable. And change has come to the world. And it's because of us that we can move it further along. So with that being said, peace and blessings with you. I love you all. This is Mark Stevens for our host, Joe Shue, saying peace and blessings to everyone. And guess what? We will see you back here tomorrow on The Breakfast Club. Make it a great day, everybody. Love you much. Peace.